Now, across Texas, the issue is.
I'm Greg Grugan in Houston.
I'm Stephen Dial in Dallas.
I'm Rudy Koski in Austin, and this is Texas, the issue is.
The cusp of completion. After years of pitched, acrimonious battle, Governor Greg Abbott's crusade to bring school choice to the Lone Star State is on the verge of completion. I spoke with the three-term Republican about the ramifications of privatizing at least part of public ed, the president's tariffs, bond reform, and the legislative effort to ban THC in Texas. Governor Greg Abbott, you are consistently the most trusted political leader in Texas. Now, that said, how can you quell the doubts of naysayers who fear that school choice will hurt public education?
So we do it with the facts. The facts are these, and that is we are going to ensure that we're going to pass school choice so parents can choose the school best for their child, while at the very same time ensure that public schools are receiving record funding. We will be providing per pupil funding that is at an all-time high, teacher pay raises that will be at an all-time high. But know this also, and that is if you look at where school choice has been applied in other states in the United States, you see those states have excellent and large school choice programs while also ranking the highest in the United States for public education. The fact of the matter is that school choice creates competition among all schools, ensuring a better education for all students.
Governor, I don't have to tell you, Texas is home to the nation's biggest seaport and the nation's biggest inland port in Laredo. That said, are you concerned about the Trump tariffs' impact on the eighth biggest economy in the world, Texas?
So we haven't seen any impact so far. And the fact of the matter is we maintain great relations with both Canada and Mexico, our two largest trading partners, and we look forward to continuing that. The fact of the matter is what's going on is a level of the playing field across the entire world, with the United States making sure that other countries are not going to be imposing tariffs on the United States without equal treatment. And so I think in the end, what the president is doing is exactly what he campaigned upon. And it'll take a while for all the details to be worked out. But I think in the end, it should be good for the country and good for Texas.
As a former Texas Attorney General and our top cop in the state, I think this is a good question for you. Should we ban THC sales or try to better regulate them?
Well, that very question is being debated in both chambers as we speak. Here's several things that are being sought to be achieved. One is to deny access by children to high-level THC content materials, whether it be edibles or drinks or whatever the case may be. Both the House and Senate seem to agree upon that. And as it concerns other avenues for adults, there's a difference between the House and Senate that I think will get worked out before the end of the session.
Governor, bond reform is one of your top priorities. Democrats don't want Texans to vote on that issue. What's your message to them to try to persuade them that Texans should have the right to determine whether judges should have this power?
Well, so you'll know the reason why Texans have to vote on it is because bail is in the Constitution itself, and what we're seeking to do is to amend the Constitution. We want to change it so that dangerous criminals like murderers are not let back out on the street to commit other murders. There are hundreds of people in Texas who were killed by a murderer who'd been previously arrested for murder, let out on bail, only to murder again. That must stop, and we must reform our bail system so that judges are not releasing these dangerous criminals back out onto the streets.
Okay, guys, given that we've all sat down multiple times with the governor over the years, you'll understand my one-word description, which is measured. Stephen, how about you?
I think my word is anticipation.
Okay. Rudy, lay it on me, brother.
Well, Greg, I'm going to go into the old medicine cabinet for my word, and that word is castor oil.
Ooh, okay. All right, then, hang with us. The Fox Texas Trio set to unwind our governor's claims and contentions on the other side of this break. Welcome back. The Fox Texas Trio set to unpack the positions taken by Governor Greg Abbott. Stephen, on the issue of choice, Abbott made much of the carrot in this formula, a roughly $400 increase in the per pupil allotment for public schools. I'm hearing a lot of grumbling here in Houston that it's not enough to soothe years of what many consider funding starvation. What are you hearing up there?
Well, of course, anyone who is at the table, they're going to want more money, right? That's just a typical reaction. A lot to unpack here, regardless of what some may think, a form of a voucher plan is going to pass in Texas this year. That's a reality. And so the real question is, will the public school system in Texas get that other end of the promise that Governor Abbott and Republicans have been making as far as increasing teacher pay, increasing public school funding, and now the component of increasing security funding as well. And so I believe that both sides are going to accomplish that, but the public school side is going to come out probably on the weak end of it because, and I know you will talk to our friend Rudy Koski about it, did they give up too much to get to this point?
All right, Rudy, clearly Democrats in the public school lobby walked away from a significantly better deal 2 years ago when they decided to torpedo a more modest voucher plan. You sensing any regret up there?
Greg, in talking with House Democrat leaders here in the Austin area now that the session's back underway, there's no looking back. Some even consider the meltdown last session was a victory politically. I think that assessment is a bit premature. The big question right now for me, and there's several, but in what pecking order in the agenda comes first? Does school choice bills comes first, or does the school funding bill comes first? Which one gets held up? Which one is going to be the pawn? Which one is kind of like going to be held hostage? Are we going to see a repeat from what we saw last session? Certainly hope not. The lack of school funding plan and a teacher pay hike did give those school choice opponents something to campaign on the past year. Now with this new school choice plan, tightly linked to the new school funding package, both sides of the debate continue to serve up a lot of hard to swallow political medicine, like castor oil, my word for the interview. We are promised things certainly will get better, just got to get it down, right? Will it get better? I think the answer to that will come next year. For Republicans, it's how parents react when they realize school choice isn't truly universal as being pitched. For Democrats, it will be, will teachers be satisfied with the extra pay, the extra reforms, things like limiting cell phones? I'm not sure who's going to be the Mary Poppins in all this. It's going to take a lot of sugar to get this medicine down. Greg?
All right, Stephen. What did you make of the governor's comments on the proposed THC ban? Because it sounded to me like he's still on the sidelines and not throwing his weight behind Lieutenant Governor Patrick's campaign to crush the over-the-counter industry.
Yeah, I think his attempt was not to make any waves in your interview there. I think he is, like you mentioned, just kind of staying on the sidelines because until school vouchers, in his word, education savings accounts get passed, I think, he'll make some bold statements on other topics after his priority is passed. Now, we all know that if this change goes through, a number of what were just CBD shops and smoke shops that sold limited products will probably go bankrupt and close because of this. Not saying there's any sympathy for them from lawmakers, but that's just the reality. I think Governor Abbott will make a bolder statement once vouchers are dealt with.
All right, Rudy, the governor was much more forceful on the issue of bond reform and allowing Texans to give judges more discretion granting bail. Democrats continue to have the numbers in the House to block the constitutional amendment, and it may be their only chance for a symbolic win. My question, will they take it and the soft on crime label that goes with it?
Do they really want that win? This is an opportunity for Democrats to show they learned the lesson from that November beatdown that they had. Instead of blocking bond reform, they can claim a win, protect due process at the same time, but show that they stand with crime victims like the mom of Jocelyn Nagari, who was murdered last year in Houston. But the new state party chair for the Democrats, he's been very quiet on this issue, which is not a good sign. It's clear, though, doubling down on unpopular 80-20 issues is a bad political strategy.
All right, it was the biggest political news in Texas this week. Ken Paxton, Texas Attorney General, jumping into the U.S. Senate race to challenge senior Senator John Cornyn, shaping up to be a messy and expensive race.
It's time we have another great senator that will actually stand up and fight for Republican values.
Ken Paxton ended months of speculation Tuesday night, setting up a showdown with longtime Senator John Cornyn. How bitter do you see this campaign being?
I think inevitably this is going to be a very bitter campaign because the themes that the two candidates will sound are going to be pretty nasty. We're going to see Paxton saying that John Cornyn has done a bad job, has betrayed conservative values. We're going to see John Cornyn saying that Paxton is corrupt, that Paxton is a self-aggrandizing media hound.
Paxton gained national popularity for his frequent lawsuits against the Biden administration. Paxton is also a close ally of President Trump. Despite being impeached by the Texas House in 2023 for alleged abuse of power, Paxton became a political hero in some circles when he was acquitted by the Senate. Then last week, news broke that a federal corruption case against him was dropped near the end of the Biden administration.
I do think that Ken Paxton will emphasize the similarities between his own case and Donald Trump's case. He'll say, look at Trump. They tried to impeach him twice. They came after him with lawfare, and he survived and triumphed. I did the same thing. They came after me with impeachment. They came after me with lawsuits. I survived and triumphed.
Paxton has already launched an attack ad against Cornyn, accusing the senator of going against President Trump before the 2024 election. Cornyn talked about that when I interviewed him last week.
I would say President Trump was right and I was wrong.
Tuesday night, the Cornyn campaign made it clear that the senator will go after Paxton's credibility. This is what Senator Cornyn told reporters the day after the Paxton announcement on Capitol Hill.
Mr. Paxton has a checkered background. He is a con man and a fraud, and I think the people of Texas know that.
Cornyn has said that he voted with Trump 95% of the time, proving he is conservative. Paxton talked about that on the Mark Davis Show Wednesday.
I don't care what he says. What I care about is what has he done, and what have his actions been, and compare my actions to his actions.
Now, during that interview, Ken Paxton also told Mark Davis, which is a radio show here in Dallas, he said that he's not worried about a Trump endorsement, guys. He said that Trump typically doesn't endorse this early, but said if and when the president does endorse, it'll be, quote, a death nail to the Cornyn campaign. Greg, it was rumors and kind of expected that Ken Paxton would jump into this race. What was your instant reaction?
My reaction, I think it's going to be brutal, and given who has historically voted in the Republican primary, the early advantage is clearly with the challenger, Paxton. I remain mystified by the blanket pardon so-called grassroots Republicans give this guy. The cheating on his wife, the alleged bribe taking, the shady financial dealings, the influence peddling, and for conservatives here in Houston, a flat betrayal in the AG's yet-to-be-explained dismissal of corruption charges against a trio of Judge Lena Hidalgo's top lieutenants. With many in the GOP base, none of it sticks to Teflon Ken. Of course, I'm guessing what would stick is the potential silver bullet of a Trump endorsement. If Cornyn gets it, game on for the incumbent. If Paxton gets it, game likely over for the incumbent. Look, I am going to watch this very closely. I think it's going to depend a lot on who President Trump gets behind.
Yeah, it could come down to that. Well, not come down to that, but that could be a big factor. And President Trump needs Cornyn's votes right now. I mean, Republicans have control of the Senate, but every vote counts. Rudy, what's your reaction to Paxton jumping in the race?
You know, Stephen, I think that crossover voting may play a big factor in this, and whether or not the Texas GOP will try to crack down on that and prevent that from happening. We'll just have to wait and see in the following March. When we learned that the Biden administration quietly spiked their corruption investigation into Paxton, you know, most analysts expected Paxton would toss his hat into the ring, and he did just that. Now, regardless of how nasty the Senate campaign is going to get, I think a lot of people are just now starting to realize the ramifications of Paxton's run for the Senate. It provides an opportunity for Democrats. How? Well, Paxton cannot run for re-election. He is opening up a big state office. Texas Democrats will have to decide now, should they throw a boatload of cash into a Senate race that they're probably will lose against one of two Republican titans, or do a political pivot and find a solid candidate to run for Attorney General. Who could that be? Well, a couple of names do come to mind. Joe Moody, Rafael Anchia, Roland Gutierrez, even Austin Mayor Kurt Watson, and Austin attorney Adam Lowy. He's a big deal here in the Austin area. He recently posted he's not interested in making a run, but I could see a big effort trying to draft him, Stephen.
Democrats definitely could pivot. That could be smart politically, but we'll have to see. Now, in that ad, I heard a familiar voice. It was Greg Abbott from Fox 26 in Houston in the attack ad from Ken Paxton. And it was a sizzle reel of Cornyn's own statement saying that he did not think Trump would be the guy for the Republican Party to retake the White House. He told us last week that Trump was right, he was wrong. Greg, will voters remember that all the way in next November?
Yeah, kind of ironic, huh, Stephen? Cornyn's doubts publicly expressed and reported in the aftermath of the January 6th assault have been fully recanted, which brings us back to the president. Will Cornyn's mea culpa, renewed fealty, Senate seniority, and easy re-electability convince Donald Trump to stick with the war horse he's got rather than switching mounts? The answer to that question will determine the outcome, and that, gentleman, is the very definition of power.
Matthew Wilson, SMU political scientist, who you heard in that piece, he said that basically with Paxton jumping in, it could knock out some people who were thinking about running. I don't know about you guys, but up here in North Texas, we've seen a lot of Wesley Hunt ads running. Rudy, what do you think?
Yes, Stephen, we're seeing those ads too here in the Austin area, and they're running during some really high-profile sporting events. Now, I spoke to political analyst Mark Jones from Rice University if the two-horse race could expand to at least three. He said more candidates will increase the likelihood that the GOP nomination will go to a runoff, which favors Paxton. But, and this is a big one, if Cornyn drops out, that could open the floodgates for people like Congressman Wesley Hunt, Dan Crenshaw, who was named as the third highest name to come up in a recent poll by the Hobby School of Public Affairs back in February. So it's a wait-and-see situation. A big race, three-horse race at least, would certainly make it very interesting, Stephen.
All right, Greg, you have the last word quickly.
All right, talking about Hunt, Wesley Hunt, hyper-Trump loyalist, no baggage, solid story to tell, and good campaigner, could position himself as the compromise candidate.
All right, when we come back, we've got issues.
All right, welcome back. This is the part where we talk about our issues that go beyond sometimes political issues. And the issue that I have is this new phenomenon that's popping up all over the place, pickleball. I don't know if you've been wrapped into this or jumped into the pickleball leagues. I have. My wife got into a league, and I am now her playing partner to get her ready for training for the league play. The question now is which will blow out first, my Achilles or my back? But I do know that you never give your wife a hanging high shot, because you're going to get those dimple marks on your chest in the wiffle ball. So that's my issue. What's up with this pickleball stuff? Greg, what's your issue?
Okay, under the issue of transparency, when you throw it to the sidelines, you end up looking like you've got something to hide. And that's what happened in the House Education Committee when, on a key final vote, they cut the live stream. Not a good move. Also, note to Representative Brian Harrison, take a class in counting votes. When you try to oust the speaker and lose 140-something to 2, you didn't do your homework.
That's true. That's
Stephen,
true.
what's
My
your
issue
issues?
is off topic. My issue's off topic. I'm going to bring it up. Man, that national championship game, I just would have wished Houston at least got a shot up, get a shot off. He could have missed a shot. To get a shot off. Yeah. It was as a Georgia boy, I don't like any success from anything at the University of Florida. So I was cheering for the Cougs. I know everyone on here was cheering for the Cougs. Did not happen, but that was my issue. Well, that's all the time we have. To see this episode or any of our past ones, go to our station's YouTube channel.
And keep the discussion going by visiting all our social media sites.
And you're not getting rid of us. We'll be back next week with more hot political topics. In the meantime, be sure and let us know what you think the issue is.